Before the compilation starts, I just wanted to give a big shout out to every liminal space video I've ever made, and to all of you guys who have taken the time to watch all of them and support me and my content. Just over a year and a half ago, or however freaking long, at the start of 2023, I had 3,000 subscribers. My videos would barely hit 100 views most of the time. I had no motion, no traction, I had nothing. No huzz, no riz, no skibbity, I had nothing. But then on a fateful day, I decided to make finding the locations of liminal spaces, and it changed my life. It got me money, it got me motion, it got me traction, it got me the opportunity to go to VidCon and meet with some of my favorite creators, like some of these guys I've watched as a kid and now I'm like friends with them. It's given me everything and I'm very grateful for that. I'm grateful for all of these videos, even if they're very amateurish and cheesy and corny and I talk funny in some of them. I'm very grateful for all of it. As far as the future of finding the liminal spaces series, or doing more of these videos, I go back and forth. I contemplate whether I want to keep doing it or not, because there's definitely more opportunity for more pictures to be found, and I do find it is fun. It's still creative. It's still a fun idea to me, but I do get a little burnt out on just liminal spaces in general. So we'll see. 2024 was a great year for the channel, especially for the liminal space videos. And yeah, I'm glad you like it all. Thanks for listening to me ramble, and have a good day. I love you guys. My first entry of the video is this popular photo of what's commonly associated with level 188 of the backrooms. This seems to be a hotel or an apartment with an interior garden section, but for whatever reason, there's a ceiling above everything. Because of this, there's a huge lack of natural lighting, which causes this place to seem shadowy and dark. Aside from the overall emptiness of the picture, there's also a window from a room that shows the silhouette of two people. Initially, I thought these shadowy figures were just edited inside the picture to add another level of creepiness, but this is just a reflection of whoever took the image. With that being said, the quote-unquote Windows level of the backrooms is actually the Holiday Inn at Terminal 4 of Heathrow Airport in London, England. Yes, this place is a hotel at an airport, and many people have showcased different angles at the hotel, and it's still pretty liminal and very strange to look at. This is one of the first popular liminal space and dreamcore photos that I remember seeing in 2020 whenever this genre of photography first went viral. Personally, this one actually gives me a big comforting feeling, and I wish I could just be there to explore this little strawberry village. Anyway, at first glance, you would think that this place of strawberry huts was once used for a children's TV set or even a location in a video game, but this place is actually a restaurant in Indonesia. The restaurant is called, and I'm gonna butcher this, so sorry for all my Indonesian people, Asib Strawberry Kedun Gora, and this place actually seems really cool, and the food seems pretty good. I'm not sure how popular this entry is, but I have seen pictures of this floating around when looking up liminal spaces. That said, this place is the Lantern of Madison Senior Living in Lake County, Ohio. At a certain point in people's lives, you may need the assistance of others because your body just can't work on its own. So that's when you get moved into a senior living center. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you feel about living your final days on Earth in a giant liminal space, many people are moved into an indoor neighborhood filled with fluorescent light skies, nature, and green carpets that resemble grass. The Lantern of Madison Senior Living is a giant liminal space, and it's very interesting to look at. This infamous picture of an empty bookstore that has the words "The End" on the wall is one of the most popular backrooms photos. There's many different stories and myths about this picture, but unfortunately, I can't seem to pinpoint the exact location of this store. From what I know for sure, this is an abandoned Borders bookstore. Borders was a book, DVD, and coffee place, and the entire store chain would shut down in 2011 for, a variety of reasons. Anyway, there's actually many different angles of this store, but the pictures have their own differences. In this shot, which is the most popular picture of Borders, you can see the classic "The End" on a back wall. In this picture, you can see the end is near, which means this photo was probably taken before this one. There were many Borders bookstores that would shut down, and because of this, there's a lot of abandoned locations that look this same. So if you know which one this was, be sure to comment. I'm not sure how popular this photo actually is, but I have a feeling that I've seen it in a liminal space compilation before. With that said, my first clue when trying to find the location of this very uninviting liminal space was this Reddit post. The title reads, Fun Zone Farmingdale, New York. After watching many home videos of Fun Zone on YouTube, I can safely say that this is not Fun Zone. The actual Fun Zone in New York doesn't have an indoor train from what I could see, and the jungle gym was quite different. Something cool about the Fun Zone in New York though is that they actually had the Rock-afire Explosion Band there, which is pretty rare nowadays. Back to the origin of this image, I just reverse image searched the picture and it led me to Valley Worlds of Fun in Pleasant Valley, West Virginia. After looking through dozens of pictures of the now defunct Valley Worlds of Fun, there's no trace of the indoor train and indoor jungle gym. Along with this, Valley Worlds of Fun has these types of lights from the ceiling, while this picture shows a more thin-stripped type of light. Just when I was ready to give this entry up, I found this image in an article about a reopened amusement center in Farmingdale, New York. Ladies and gentlemen, Fun Zone got a nice remodeling, and we got him.
We got him.
Look at the top of the slides in this picture. Now if we go back to the original photo, we can see the same little archways. This tiny find was enough for me to look into At Play Amusement, the newly reopened amusement center in Farmingdale, New York. When looking at the first picture of it on Google, it's the indoor train and the indoor jungle gym. So yes, this picture was actually taken at where Fun Zone used to be, and this picture was also taken at some point of At Play Amusement's short life. Unfortunately for At Play Amusement, they didn't have a very long run, and I couldn't find any information as to why they even shut down. Anyway, on the topic of talking about liminal spaces, because that's what this video is about, here's Kylie, and she's gonna talk about some.
Dead malls are definitely a subcategory of the backrooms that I think should be more prevalent. The image we're going to be discussing the origin of is this empty arcade. We can see it contains what appears to be a gumball pinball machine, a claw machine with purple basketballs as prizes, a second claw machine, and some racing game. It was taken at Lansing Mall in Lansing, Michigan by this Reddit user. They made the original post of the image on r/deadmalls back in December 2019. Other photos of the arcade have popped up here and there on the internet. Despite being posted to r/deadmalls and looking rather solitary, the mall still exists. I found this image of a huge chest with checker pieces as well, just thought it was cool. And the carpet that is in the arcade appears to be in other parts of the mall as well. However, based on reviews, it seems it doesn't have much life left in it and may unfortunately be on its way to closing down. This photo reminds me of the way that bathrooms tend to look like in dreams. I thought I was alone in my recurring unsettling and repulsive bathroom dreams until I found out a while back that they're actually a super common phenomenon. When the stalls don't have doors or aren't tall enough, the toilet is too tall or too short, everything is overflowed and repulsive, and it feels like some discombobulating maze. I know there's no toilet present and it's a pool, but it just gives off a similar vibe. This photo was taken at Sanatorium Ingol in Ukraine. Sanatorium in this sense is not like the tuberculosis ones back in the day. Sanatoriums in Ukraine are more like hotel spas, sometimes for people with medical conditions, but other times it seems to be for anyone who wants like an aromatherapy type experience. This one in particular is considered a resort hotel on Google. We can see the famous backrooms photo on their website under the types of treatment section. The website is in Russian, so translation might be iffy. But the pool is described as pool with cascading waterfall, and that they use methods of balneotherapy. According to the National Institutes of Health, balneotherapy is a set of methods and practices which, based on scientific evidence, use medically and legally recognized mineral medicinal waters, muds, and natural gases from natural springs for therapeutic purposes inside the facilities of thermal spa centers. The architectural design of the building is also pretty liminal, and I was able to find another picture of the liminal pool via Google reviews that you can see here. Going through all of the photos, the entire place looks like a liminal fever dream. Following the pool room's energy of the sanatorium angle, I always thought that this photo was fake. Either a very good render or Photoshop, and I was honestly surprised to learn that this is an authentic photo. It was taken at the Hamamatsu subway station in Japan during a flood. There's an article I found from September 2015 about the floods, and it appears that the flooding was caused by Tropical Storm Itao. However, the article that I found is more about how clean water is in Japan and not the actual flooding itself. And here is a photo of the station in its dry state. Water-based liminal photos are some of my favorites. I love the pool room so much, and that made it great to find out that this backrooms photo is real. This photo may look like your typical backrooms jungle gym, but it has some dark, musty lore. It was taken at Rainbow Funhouse in Torquay, England. The building was an old converted church that opened in 2001. What started as a bright, promising future for this establishment ended as an abandoned, decrepit place with a bad rep and fire damage. Its history of TripAdvisor reviews tells most of the story. In 2012, this person said they'd recommend the play center for anyone with younger children, added their entry prices were very reasonable, and described the food as basic but adequate. Then only a year later in 2013, Jared said they were charging parents entry fees even if they weren't participating in any of the activities, and that the staff was lacking with keeping the children supervised and safe, which is a recurring complaint amongst reviews. This woman said her son had a fall that caused a broken arm, and that there wasn't any staff on the floor the children were playing on during the time of the incident. The downstairs area was for younger children, while the upstairs was for older children, but it seems to not have been enforced, and this person claims their 2-year-old daughter was hit by older children that were invading the toddler area. Someone added in the review that their 5-year-old had actually asked to leave after 10 minutes of being there. And here is a direct quote. "The whole place smells of damp, mold, and wee, and needs cleaning. We have been there several times, and the first time, there was poo all over the floor and the girls flew. But the playing apparatus are great, and like I say, our children love going there." So, smells like wee, but their children enjoyed it, and there are reviews saying it wasn't that bad of a place, so it was maybe just your average run-of-the-mill musty play place. It closed in 2017, however in 2019, the building caught on fire. Residents near the building told police they had seen children with spray cans around the area, but I couldn't find a confirmed cause of the fire. I believe there is a rumor that someone died, either in the fire or like an accident while Rainbow Funhouse was still open, but I'm 99% sure that's thankfully nothing more than a rumor. On a positive note, the building sold in 2021 to a couple that restored it into a beautiful, gigantic house. So hopefully if you ever no-clip into the backrooms, you end up here and not in Rainbow Stank House.
This photo of what seems to be the end of a high school hallway is one of my favorite liminal space pictures. I find the picture to be very comforting, nostalgic, and memorable. There's been many times where I've stared at this image and wondered what lies beyond the school doors. It looks like a rainy day outside and feels like you're looking at a past memory from when you were a kid leaving school. Anyway, finding the location of this picture was quite a fun and tedious task. That said, my first lead was a Reddit comment that said this picture was taken at the Bridgewater Hillside Intermediate School. Moving forward, I couldn't just take the Redditor's word because they didn't add any additional proof, so now it was time for me to start digging. My first effort was to look this school up on Google Maps, and then I would try and find this exact exit from the outside. Unfortunately for me, there's not a street view angle on the school's property, but there is an overhead view. When looking at the picture, you can see a large dumpster and a patch of grass in the distance, so I tried to match all of these characteristics up with the overhead angle. Eventually, I settled on this spot for being the outside you can see in the picture. You can see the patch of grass, and you can also see the concrete street that lies in front of it. Now, you could argue that the dumpsters don't match up in the same place, so I decided to get a little more proof. I looked up Bridgewater Hillside Intermediate School on YouTube and found this video. The video is from 2011, and it's a pretty wholesome montage of teachers and students having fun at the Bridgewater School, but we'll get back to this in a second. Looking back at the original picture, you can see a brick wall that sticks out from the exit. Not only this, but the brick wall is topped off with some sort of metal lining. Going back to the video I just mentioned, at the 5-minute and 49-second mark, you can see a group of teachers standing outside the school. And in the background, you can see a sloped brick wall that's topped off with some metal lining. This picture was definitely taken at the Bridge Raritan Hillside Intermediate School in Bridgewater, New Jersey. The pool rooms are a very popular subcategory in liminal space photography, and the backrooms lore, level 37, which is also called sublimity, is all about the pool rooms. Before I go any further, I'm sorry to break anyone's hopes of this dreamlike place existing, but the pool rooms don't exist in real life. The popular pool rooms images and 3D renderings were originally made by a New York artist called Jared Pike. I don't know how long he's been making this type of liminal space art, but it's become his overall brand in recent years. I looked back at his older posts on Instagram, and he has many hidden gems for liminal space art. There's plenty of ways to support Jared Pike, such as following him on Instagram where he embraces the newfound appreciation for his pool room artistry, or you could even buy his physical prints of the pool rooms on his website. Someone once posted this photo to Reddit with the caption, "This area in my school courtyard always gives me such a weird feeling when I walk alone in it." The post would get nearly 30,000 upvotes on r/liminal space, and I think the top response really sums up my thoughts toward the picture. The sky looks like a generic skybox in a video game, and even though there's shadows that exist in the picture, everything feels very frozen. With that said, this was an easy find as I dug through many Reddit comments and eventually found out that this was taken at the Kiski Area High School in Leechburg, Pennsylvania. This dreamlike picture of a very real Krusty Krab has been floating around the internet way longer than the liminal space movement even gained popularity. From the very smoky and smoggy resolution of the image to the empty and surreal nature of a real-life Krusty Krab, this is some sort of nightmare fuel for the kids who grew up on SpongeBob. Anyway, I traced this picture back to a cooking website that talks about a real-life version of SpongeBob's Krusty Krab set to open. The Krusty Krab restaurant in Ramallah, Palestine would open its doors sometime in 2014, and is also the hotspot for many more SpongeBob fever dream pictures. This restaurant seemed really cool to be at, and I wonder if they sold those rainbow-colored burgers from that one SpongeBob episode. I always thought they looked really good, and I hope I'm not alone on this, but I always wanted to try the food at the Chum Bucket. It honestly didn't look that bad.
It's actually amazing!
I actually have some sad news about the real-life Krusty Krab, as the place got shut down in 2019 for reasons I couldn't find. There's been speculation that Nickelodeon never gave the restaurant permission to use anything SpongeBob related, and it's easy to see why. If a real-life Krusty Krab were to ever open up in the early 2010s, I don't think Ramallah, Palestine would be the first location that comes to mind. A Redditor called BlackBunny2424 would go on to say that the restaurant is now a coffee shop. So, F's in the chat. Indoor playgrounds are a common place for liminal space pictures to be taken. The one on screen is very similar to other liminal space playgrounds, but this one is located in an IKEA in Inaloo, Australia. There's nothing too interesting about this entry, but I find any picture of this playground to be very surreal and barren of any happiness. The colorful pipes image was taken at a Google data center in Changhua, Taiwan. These pipes are a part of a water cooling system so that the data centers and servers don't overheat and work properly. I probably sounded like I don't know what I'm talking about, and that's because I don't. Unfortunately, liminal space photos that are taken inside houses are really hard to locate. Some of my favorite liminal space pictures are ones like these, and I'll likely never know their true location. With that said, this one is one of the more popular liminal space photos that's been taken inside of a house. I'm not too sure how to go about this entry because I don't want to possibly dox the people that live in this house, but anyway, here's a little showcase of the entire inside and outside of the house, and you can try and find it for yourself on redfin.com. And while on the topic of liminal space houses, I've always wondered where the origin of images like these came from. Luckily for me and everyone watching, you're about to find out from the legendary YouTuber Adrian Ghastly.
This image depicting a rainbow and a house on a hill is often lumped in with many other strange-looking liminal spaces. These images are very off-putting and almost like they're from an alternate reality. Upon closer inspection, it's easy to tell that this image is actually a collage of multiple different images, which is what gives it that strange look, and it's probably contributing to the odd feeling that it gives off. But where does it come from? Well, it's actually a piece by the artist Gabrielle Traversat. Gabrielle often makes collage images in Photoshop as well as graphic design art. The image dates back to at least 2019, which is well before it blew up as a liminal space icon. Gabrielle has also made many other notable liminal spaces such as these images. Her art is so dreamlike and weirdly beautiful.
To end the video off, here's a liminal space picture that I could have sworn visiting in my own life. I think I came across this picture on Pinterest, and I had a little freak out because it looked very similar to a small water park I visited as a little kid. I specifically remember the slides being blue and being lined up like the way they are in the picture. I also had a vivid memory of this bullet slide, but I had to make sure that my suspicion was true. The water park I remember this being at was this place called Dry Gulch. To my surprise, the water slides at Dry Gulch are quite different from what I remember, so no, I have not been to the water slides in this picture. And even if I still believe that I've been to this picture in real life, that would be impossible because this is a pool at the Krishna Hotel and Garden Restaurant in India. In my last video, I covered the classic liminal space image, The End. I was able to water everything down to only find out that this picture was taken at a closed down Borders bookstore, but I couldn't find which Borders location it exactly was. Shortly after I uploaded my original liminal space video, I get an email from someone called Panzer Hund, and they had this to say. In your video about liminal space locations, you mentioned that you do not know where the place is located, only that it's a Borders bookstore. A while back, I came across a video or Reddit post or something like that. Apparently, this is a Borders bookstore off of Interstate 5, next to a railway and an Outback Steakhouse in Orange County, California. Thanks to this person's email, I was able to form some sort of lead. I looked into that Borders bookstore location in Orange County, California, and found a review page on Yelp from 2011. The only useful image that was taken inside of the bookstore is this right here, and the architecture looks awfully similar to the one found in the liminal space image. My only complaint is that the pillars seen in this picture are red, while the ones in The End are green. Unfortunately, the Borders bookstore that was once in Orange County, California is not our match. After this, I looked around on Google Images for a bit and came across this page that was made back on April 6, 2011. On this page is a picture of an alternate angle of The End. I quickly found out that this website borrowed the image from an old BuzzFeed article, so I was able to use the Wayback Machine to see what was on BuzzFeed back in 2011. While the website isn't completely functional at all, I can still see the original BuzzFeed post that had the classic liminal space picture. From here, BuzzFeed had linked the original source back to a Reddit post made on April 4th, 2011. The Reddit post says, "Saw this at my local Borders." This icon of liminal space and backroom photography originated from this Reddit post, at least this angle. Anyway, the top comment to this post says, "Would that happen to be at the block of Orange in California?" To which OP says, Yorba Linda, California. The address for this location is 22401 Old Canal Road in Yorba Linda, California. Nowadays, the Borders bookstore is now a Sprouts Farmers Market. This popular liminal space photo has been floating around the internet for almost 4 years now, and it's easily one of the most shared around pictures in the backrooms niche. I was able to dig up a 3-year-old Reddit post that reads 5 more minutes, with this picture accompanied with it. Initially, I'm not too sure what to make out from this image. Is this a restaurant or factory of some sort? It's pretty surreal to look at and feels very artificial. Looking at the top comment on the Reddit post says, "Is this like a children's museum?" To which the person who made the post says, "So whenever I visited my grandma, who lived in Chicago when I was younger, we'd go to a children's museum at Navy Pier. Since that place brought a lot of memories, I decided to Google a picture of somewhere inside the museum. This picture was one of them, so I cropped out the white space and posted it here. When following the link they provided, it leads us to the Chicago Children's Museum in Chicago, Illinois. A comment on my last video talked about a mall they lived close to. The mall was called the White Flint Mall, and is most famous in the liminal space community for this picture. From the neon lights that outline the ceiling to the overall outdated 80s, 70s mall aesthetic, this place is a moment in time that's been long forgotten, and it seems very lonely but just as inviting. Unfortunately, Inbred Duck says that the mall ended in a big fight over ownership and eventually met its demise by being demolished. This was the White Flint Mall in North Bethesda, Maryland, and may it rest in liminality. I would say that around 2020 is when the liminal space genre of photography first went mainstream and got that major boost of popularity. Around this time, there were many popular images that were shared around more than others. There were the classic Gabrielle Traversat images, the Heathrow Hotel picture, I'm joking, but I also remember this one. What seems to be an ordinary picture of a birthday party room at some sort of arcade or play place, this picture makes me feel very nostalgic. Unlike other liminal spaces that aim to be creepy or dreadful, this empty and lonely party room is very inviting, and it makes me wish to be a kid again. Anyway, this picture was quite easy to find. If you look on the back wall, you can see a very visually disgusting banner that reads, Jumping Jack's Fun Zone. A simple Google search later, and this is without a doubt, Jumping Jack's Fun Zone in Fort Myers, Florida. If you're still watching the video, I just want to say thank you, it really means a lot. I'm gonna hand the mic over to the great YouTuber Zeepsterd, so be sure to stick around.
Hey guys, it's Zeep. You know, recently I made a video about abandoned aesthetics, and one of the segments in that video is about liminal spaces. Today I'd like to talk about a couple of liminal space images that are really bizarre, but they're so weird that I really want to know their origins. For one, I started with the Toshiba space chair image. The image is pretty wild. It's a chair in the middle of space, but the origins to this is kind of funny. In the year 2009, Toshiba, you know, the laptop and computer company, made an advertisement, and where it begins with a panning shot of a bleak desert, with an armchair in the foreground, followed by a crew attaching a weather balloon on the armchair, with the chair beginning to ascend upwards into the sky, and GPS sounds in the background. Ambient music plays as it goes further and further from the reaches of Earth's atmosphere. Suddenly, we are found with an image of the air alone in space. With an advertisement budget of $3.7 million US, we are greeted with a truly beautiful liminal space image. It is revealed that the entire ad is for a TV, stating that the armchair viewing has been redefined. The idea of launching the chair into the upper atmosphere wasn't exactly original. Artist Simon Faithfull actually made a short film titled Escape Vehicle No. 6, released in 2004, showing another chair entering space. It was pretty similar in its premise to the Toshiba commercial. So much so that Toshiba wanted to borrow from this premise and create their own thing with a higher budget. The chair ascended from the Nevada desert. A crew of engineers designed a 4-pound rig that included a biodegradable balsa wooden chair with 8 HD cameras attached to the helium balloon. Not only that, but advertisers had to conform with Federal Aviation Administration regulations by making sure the rig wasn't too heavy, weighing no more than 4 pounds. By the end of the ad, the balloon pops, leading to the chair to be destroyed, and descending all the way back down to the Earth's atmosphere. The American Southwest has a very liminal feeling towards it. I don't know about you, but there's something so bizarre to me. It might be this image, and maybe the sidewalk right next to all these amazing natural rocky structures from the earth, complemented with a stop sign, but something about it just seems sort of unnatural, in a good way. Monument Valley is located between 2 states, Utah and Arizona. The Monument Valley stop sign image gives a lot of people nostalgia, probably because it reminds them of an old Wile E. Coyote cartoon. You know, the Looney Tune cartoon with the Roadrunner. It may be a simple image, but it really is bizarre, because it's really 2 things meeting. The naturalness and beauty of the Monument Valley with a stop sign associated with cars. Something that's obviously man-made. It also includes the emptiness of the desert, showing that nothing else remains but just these rocks. Albeit, they are beautiful rocks. Returning back to civilization, or really lack thereof, we have the Edward Scissorhands neighborhood image. You know, the picture with all those houses in pastel colors? Yeah, this image is from Edward Scissorhands, released in 1990, and is a candy-colored suburbia. With bright green lawns and big pink and light green houses, the image is oddly nostalgic. It would look like this image was created in Hollywood, but believe it or not, this neighborhood was real, and it really still is. It just isn't painted that way anymore. It is located in Tinsmith Circle in Lutz, Florida. Tinsmith Circle in Lutz, Florida was chosen as it reminded Edward Scissorhands screenwriter Caroline Thompson about similar quaint housing complexes that she grew up around in. Of course, the houses were just painted that way for the film, as well as the cars, which were spray painted. Going to something a little more sadder, we have the DashCon ball pit. One of my favorite liminal space images of all time, because of the wacky story behind it. So Tumblr, if you remember, it had its heyday in the mid-2010s, being a popular blogging website. Eventually, the website gained so much traction to build a community. The community of Tumblr wanted to have a convention, so they raised $4,000 via an Indiegogo campaign. And in the second weekend of July 2014, in Schaumburg, Illinois, history was made. So people of Tumblr paid $65, showed up, and found that there was really nothing to do. I mean, there was a games room, it had one TV and one console, but you have to keep something in mind. 5,000 people showed up. Apparently a podcast called Welcome to Night Vale was supposed to show up to the event, but they didn't show up as a result of a misallocation of funds by the event coordinators. Yeah, things were looking pretty bad. People wanted their money back, and as soon as people wanted their money back, DashCon started to freak out and changed their rules on their website, saying that no refunds were allowed. They did offer one thing though to try to make this up to people. They offered an extra hour in the ball pit. That's right, DashCon had a ball pit. And where this famous image is from. Online, the ball pit was displayed as the main attraction to the entire event. Much like the entire event, seeing the ball pit all alone is just so sad to look at, and brings nothing but pain really. Anyways, that's enough from me. Let's take it back to Jaden. And also, subscribe to Zeepsterd.
On July 28th, 2021, a Redditor posted this: "Kids' playroom at the hotel I'm staying at." The image shows a very surreal playroom, with the walls and ceiling painted like a skybox from a video game. Without the presence of children playing around and having fun, and with how artificial and surreal the skybox look is, this makes up for a very liminal space. I looked in the comments of the post and nobody ever said where this picture was taken, so I used reverse image search and quickly found that this was taken at the Maumee Bay State Park in Ohio. Oh god, I'm about to get so many only in Ohio comments. It's not funny! The public room is an exhibit at the Ooms Gallery in Rotterdam, Netherlands. Artist Giuseppe Licari is the one who designed and created this surreal environment. The vibes are very odd by itself, but even with the presence of people around, it's still strange to look at. Unfortunately, all the pictures and articles I read that talk about the public room are from around 2013, and I'm not exactly sure if the exhibit is still around in today's time. This very peculiar and desolate room makes for a great liminal and creepy space. The carpet and overall decor of the room is very outdated, and you can even spot what seems to be a leg on the outside of the door. I've seen this image quite a few times when looking at liminal space compilations, and I'm pretty happy that I can place a name and story to this one in particular. I know it's a bit of a cheat code and very repetitive at this point, but the search for liminal space images usually starts with using the reverse image search feature, and that's exactly what I used for this entry. After doing this, I quickly found out that this screenshot is taken from a movie called Elephant. I bought it on YouTube, and at 15 minutes and 40 seconds into the film, the infamous image plays out in real time. While I'm talking about Elephant, I'd just like to say that this film was a lot to take in. I honestly didn't expect anything that I watched. And while I didn't find anything too special or enjoyable about the movie, I lightly recommend it. But you know, trigger warning for school shooting related stuff. Anyway, this film was shot at, Wait, wrong choice of words. This film was filmed at the Whitaker Middle School in Portland, Oregon. The school was eventually torn down in 2007 due to high levels of radon. Radon is an odorless, invisible, radioactive gas naturally released from rocks, soil, and water. Radon can get into homes and buildings through small cracks or holes and build up in the air. Over time, breathing in high levels of radon can cause lung cancer. Apparently, the radon leak had been known about since as early as 2001, so it's probably for the best that the school no longer exists. I also found this 16-year-old YouTube video of some hooligans vandalizing the school after it shut down, and it's pretty crazy to watch. First off, I wanted to find this image so bad for part 1 of this series. There's something about this liminal space in particular that I'm so attached to. I could go into detail of how this picture makes me feel, but I'm gonna cut to the chase because why not? After uploading my original video, I got into contact with someone over Discord called Polly. We discussed the locations of many different liminal space images, and I'll be sure to reference them for future episodes in the series because they dug deep on many different pictures. Anyway, the main text that caught my eye was this one in specific. Polly managed to find many different angles of this iconic liminal space picture, and said that it was taken at a place called Worlds of WoW. I looked into Worlds of WoW, and I quickly found out that they're responsible for designing and creating playgrounds and play structures like this one I'm showing. Worlds of WoW does have a place of business in Denton, Texas, but after many minutes of searching through Google Images and YouTube videos, it doesn't seem like this liminal space is on the Denton, Texas property. Now it's time to dig deeper. I eventually stumbled onto World of WoW's Pinterest page and saw a plethora of interior designing for children's play places. As I scrolled down the Pinterest page, I eventually found the image we were searching for. So that lets us know that Worlds of WoW from Denton, Texas definitely created this room. While I got to see a bigger layout and extensive view of the playground from World of WoW's Pinterest page, it didn't ever say where these photos were taken. Before I move on, keep this exact picture in mind, as it'll be very useful in just a second. The taste of victory was on the tip of my fingertips, but the answers weren't showing themselves just yet. So I went on Google Images and I threw out a lucky search. Worlds of WoW interior. I scrolled down for just a second and then I saw something that caught my eye. A Worlds of WoW blog had popped up on the Google Images with a thumbnail that resembled the play place I was looking at just before. I clicked on the picture and it took me to a Worlds of WoW blog post. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
We got him.
We recently completed an incredible new kids ministry facility for Mid-Cities Church in Midland, Texas. This blog, which was hiding in plain sight, held the answers to all of this picture's mysteries. For one last time, this picture was taken at the Mid-Cities Church in Midland, Texas. In my original liminal space video, I had shown a variety of images when explaining the definition of what liminal spaces are. Throughout the introduction, I flashed this image on the screen for a short period of time. Aside from the grainy quality of the picture and the bleak designs on the carpet, wall, and pillars, the room looks very awkward due to how tall the lobby is. There's so much blank space, and it only leaves room for shadows and emptiness. Similar to other entries on the list, I received many comments saying that they recognized this very image, and that it was taken at the AMC Theater in Ridgefield Park, New Jersey. I looked into this more, and I can confirm that the AMC Theater in New Jersey is a complete match to this liminal picture. I've also seen different angles of the theater on the liminal space subreddit, and it looks very lonely. The George Bush Airport in Houston, Texas is a hotspot for many different liminal space images. I believe this one is the most popular of all, but then you have these subset of pictures that are just as liminal and maybe just as popular. I'd imagine that most airports can provide the feelings you get from looking at a liminal space photo, but for whatever reason, the George Bush Airport is more shared around than others. One of the most recognizable images on the internet is the default Windows XP wallpaper called Bliss. This classic photo of a beautiful, vibrant green hill with a bright blue sky can easily bring feelings of nostalgia, not only because Windows XP quite literally came out over 20 years ago, but just viewing the image for what it is, it almost feels dreamlike. People could only dream of being in such a peaceful and ideal environment, and we're pretty lucky that we get to know the exact location of this surprisingly liminal photo. The wallpaper we all know as Bliss was taken by a photographer named Charles O'Rear. He had been leaving his house in St. Helena, California, and was on his way to visit his girlfriend, whom he later married. While driving through the Napa Valley, something caught his eye. Charles would pull over on the side of the road and unknowingly took one of the most classic and beloved images in modern time. The exact location for where Charles pulled over and snapped the photograph is off of Highway 12 in Sonoma, California. Many people visit this location every year, and it's definitely somewhere I plan on visiting in the future. Almost like I'll visit this place on a liminal space road trip.
Tune in next week for the essential guide for a liminal space road trip.
Bliss isn't the only Windows XP wallpaper that gives you that liminal space type of feeling. Wallpapers such as Autumn, Azul, Red Moon Desert, and many others just invoke a feeling within me that I can't truly describe. In one of the most popular liminal space compilations on YouTube, a video called Strangely Familiar Places with Unnerving Music has this thumbnail. This video is 3 years old at the time of me making this video, and it actually features some of the most iconic liminal space images of all time. This unsettling picture of a White House in the dead of night is the infamous Monroe House in Hartford City, Indiana. This house is infamous because of its everlasting paranormal history. The TV show Paranormal Lockdown gave this house a lot of publicity whenever they covered it in a season 2 episode. And I'm sorry, but I can't take these types of shows seriously.
He's lying.
I need to sub out. Like, I can't breathe anymore. I can't breathe.
I can't breathe.
I keep getting choked.
I was working on the house, and it got dark,
What happened?
and I thought I had seen the shadow come in,
He's taking too much Benadryl.
and that really messed with me.
But they did find some sort of human bones in the basement of the Monroe house, which makes it even creepier than it already is. While I was browsing the liminal space subreddit, I came across this post. The skyline of Doha, Qatar doesn't feel real. I stared at the image for quite a while and debated with myself whether this was a real picture or not. There's virtually no shadows in this picture, and the futuristic skyline seems too squeaky clean and almost looks flat. Why does this look so perfect and simple? A quick way for me to find out if this Redditor was telling the truth or not is for me to simply check the skyline from other people's perspectives, as it just seemed too fascinating for this to be a real image. Well, it's real. You can visit Hotel Park in Doha, Qatar to get this amazing view for yourself. It really gives off that Fudiger Arrow type of look and feeling, if you know what I mean. A more obscure and unknown entry on the list is this one right here. At some point in the last couple of months, I stumbled onto a website called Quotev and found this very liminal photo. It seems to be the lobby of a very vibrant and experimental building from the mid-1900s. As most of you would expect, I know little to nothing about the architectures of buildings, but I'm going to give it a fair shot and say that this gives off a 70s, 80s sort of interior aesthetic. Aside from this picture being on the website, I'm left with no additional information of where this location might be, along with where the image was ever taken from. After doing a quick Google reverse image search, I found an alternative version of the picture we are talking about. Instead of a desolate, colorful lobby of a big building, I was then met with virtually the same place, but with lots of people. Thankfully, the person who uploaded this different design provided a location in the Pinterest description. Ottawa's Charlevoix High School. After Googling Charlevoix High School, I came across a website that gave a brief description of the high school. The description reads as follows. Currently St. Patrick High School, Charlesbois was the first French-speaking high school for 1,500 students in the Ottawa Board of Education. An informal survey was conducted with students to obtain opinions on what was lacking in their current educational environment. As a response, the Central Mall was designed to offer a large, colorful meeting for the students to collect between classes and assemble for activities such as dances. Something you may notice is that this high school is no longer known as Charlesbois High School, but rather St. Patrick's High School. This website also provided an address of the school, and this is what the inside looks like nowadays. I wish they kept the colorful look as it was very unique, but to each their own. Before I begin with this entry, I thought I'd provide a little bit of context. This video you're watching right now is technically the third part in my Finding Liminal Spaces series. The video before this, Finding Locations of Popular Liminal Spaces Part 2, has since been deleted by YouTube for seemingly no reason. I could make a big long rant about it, but this would be rather boring, but the sad point I'm trying to make is that the Part 2 of this series is gone and seemingly lost forever. You can check out my Twitter at Jaden Salads to like and retweet my pinned tweet about the entire situation. If you are a big YouTuber or someone with a big following, I just ask that you can help me in any way you can and just call out YouTube for deleting one of my most successful videos for no proper reason. Anyway, rant over, check out the Twitter if you want to see the nitty gritty. We're going to be talking about this liminal space. In the intro of my last liminal space video, I provided this image on screen and didn't think much of it. In the comment section of my now deleted video, someone actually recognized the picture and said it was taken in the gymnasium of the Beaumont School in Cleveland, Ohio. To anyone who's about to make an Only in Ohio joke, please no clip to the back rooms and don't come back. Doing a quick Google search of Beaumont School, Cleveland Heights Gym, you will quickly notice that the relatively unknown liminal space is identical to the photos I'm showing you now. In my first Liminal Spaces video, a person from my Discord server called Polly had sent me a variety of liminal spaces with the locations that they found. One of these places was from the High Museum of Art in Atlanta, Georgia. If this doesn't sound familiar, you may recognize this place from the images I'm now showing. These pictures are your standard liminal space and kind of give me the same vibe as the Chicago Children's Museum liminal space picture. Level 5 of the Backrooms is known as the Terror Hotel. The concept of Level 5 in the Backrooms lore is that this is a hotel that infinitely expands, well, forever. If you want to know about the individual levels and lore of the Backrooms, then I'd suggest watching the YouTuber Brugly, because that's sort of his thing. I'll put him in the description, why not? Anyway, the most associated picture with Level 5 of the Backrooms is this right here, a photo that was taken in the lobby of the Serrano Hotel. The Serrano Hotel is located in San Francisco, California. I personally don't find anything too unsettling or familiar about this entry in particular, but it is a popular liminal space, so feel free to drop how this one makes you feel in the comments. This unsettling room, where you seem to be inside of a large-scale mouth, is pretty interesting to look at. Not only is the concept of being inside a giant mouth weird, but the actual room itself has its own creepy traits. The photo's quality is already pretty low, and it doesn't help anything by having bad lighting along with it. I'm pretty positive that this could be some nightmare fuel for a lot of people, some real fever dream type of imagery. To start off with the search of this place, I started by reverse searching the picture. One of the first results led me to the Facebook page of a dentist office in Athens, Greece. By scrolling down to a post they made in March of 2017, you can see that they updated their Facebook banner to the liminal space photo we are looking for. This doesn't automatically mean that this dentist office is the place where this photo was taken though, so I started to dig just a little deeper. By looking up the squiggly language of the dentist office in Greece, I looked through the dentist Google images to possibly find a different angle of the giant mouth. Unfortunately, I was only met with a single 1-star review of the place and 0 mouth room images. The dentist's office in Athens, Greece couldn't be our match, but after returning to the reverse search image results, I found this little picture that looked pretty similar to the giant mouth. I then opened this picture in a new tab, reverse searched this one, and then found this result. I clicked on the picture and it took me to the 2 Weeks in Costa Rica website. I scrolled down for a little bit and then came across this. The giant mouth on this website is apparently located at the National Children's Museum in Costa Rica. Just to make sure that the liminal space picture and the place at the Children's Museum are the same, here's the similarities that I've noticed. The floor in both photos are the exact same, along with the fact that there's a door with the top and bottom teeth on it. The problem here is that there are some differences you may have already noticed. The National Children's Museum does not have the little pictures on the wall like the ones shown in the liminal space. I also noticed that the rooms outside of the doors look pretty different. The liminal space image shows whatever this is, while a picture from 4 months ago shows this outside of the door. My consensus is that this liminal space photo was likely taken at the National Children's Museum in Costa Rica. There's too many obscure similarities between both images I've shown, and it's easy to realize that places change over time. The Stanley Hotel is most known and recognized for being the hotel featured in The Shining.
Here's Johnny!
The Shining is one of the most classic and iconic horror films of all time, and with a director as talented as Stanley Kubrick, it's no surprise that there's some great cinematography showcased throughout the film. While there's no way Stanley Kubrick knew what a liminal space was when filming the movie in the late 1970s, he did a great job at capturing some pretty liminal spaces in many parts of the film. Even in today's time, this place is still around, and many people manage to find their own liminal spaces in the hotel. I think hotels are kind of a cheat code for liminal space photography, as you can probably find anything quote-unquote liminal in almost any hotel. Many liminal space images originate from the 1998 movie called The Truman Show. While there's some more subtle pictures that'll seem familiar or make you feel nostalgia, nothing quite does it like this shot right here. It's hard to believe that this isn't a modern-day render of what we all think of as a liminal space. There's so many of those 3D edited pictures of liminal spaces nowadays, and this could easily pass as one of those made by a dreamcore type of artist. Moving forward, I had never watched The Truman Show, so I watched it a couple of hours ago, and I'd highly recommend it as it has a pretty fascinating concept and it's just a good movie all around.
Back up, back up! Leak at the plant. They had to shut her down.
Is there any way around?
Whole area is being evacuated.
Is there anything I can do?
No, ma'am. Thank you for your help. You're welcome, Truman.
I would feel like a pretty big jerk if I spoiled the movie and provided context for this image, but just know that this comes from The Truman Show.
Mini golf image. One of the most popular liminal space images is of what seems to be an abandoned mini golf course. The environment in this picture is very dark and pretty unsettling. Along with this, the camera that took this photograph is very grainy and not that high of quality, which can add the feeling of nostalgia. Anyway, I found the location of this liminal space by looking up abandoned miniature golf courses on Google Images. Surprisingly enough, it didn't take long until I found the image that was very similar to the iconic liminal space photo. After clicking on this particular picture from Google Images, it took me to a website called acoupleofputts.com. This website would feature many different angles of a glow-in-the-dark mini golf course, and I quickly realized that this was my match. The classic liminal space picture was taken near the food court at the Burnsville Center Mall in Minnesota. Unfortunately, you can no longer visit the mini golf course as it shut down sometime in 2020. The infamous Never Gonna Give You Up music video by Rick Astley is something we're all too familiar with. But something we probably didn't realize is how liminal the bridge can be. When there's nobody to be seen around it, when seeing underneath the bridge, everybody would expect Rick Astley singing his song. But when he's suddenly out of the frame, we're left with a very surreal setting. This place feels like it can't exist in the modern world, but rather a place that's forever stuck in time. Fortunately, for the search of this image, the filming location for Never Gonna Give You Up are pretty easy to find. You can visit 171 Preston Road in London, England to not only witness an important piece of meme culture, but also a surprisingly liminal space. Super Mario 64. The classic video game Super Mario 64 is actually more liminal than you may remember. There's so many different spots and places in the game that invoke feeling of nostalgia and familiarity. Due to the quality and old school 3D graphics of the game, a lot of the places within the game look very liminal. Anyway, the image for this entry is this one right here. And there's many similar pictures that originate from Super Mario 64. But there is one problem though. I did lots of searching for how to find this room in Super Mario 64, but I'm also positive that this isn't actually in the game. Chances are that someone made this room themselves, but it doesn't take away the liminal feeling at all. For a more in-depth analysis on the liminality in Super Mario 64, I heavily recommend watching Kylie's video called "Every Copy of Super Mario 64 is Liminal." Backrooms Level 11. In the Backrooms lore, Level 11 is called the Concrete Jungle and consists of desolate cityscapes that never end. The most commonly associated image for this level of the Backrooms is this one right here. While it's not the most convincing example of a liminal space, it does have a weird dreamlike feeling accompanied with it. Inside the picture, you can see a street sign that says Hope. So after quite a bit of digging on Google Street View, I found Hope Street in Los Angeles, California. Ladies and gentlemen,
We got him.
if you wanted to stand in this exact spot in real life, the address you'd go to is 698 Wolfshrine Boulevard in Los Angeles, California.
This segment is for the liminal spaces that people from my Discord server have found. Be sure to join the Discord server in the description or the pinned comment. You may just end up in the next liminal space video. I also talked to a lot of the people in the chat there and plan on doing giveaways and all of that good stuff. For the first entry in this part of the video, we have this popular image. The guy who sent me this picture is actually from Iran, the same country that these buildings are located. I thought it was pretty interesting, and here's what he had to say about it, and I'm going to apologize in advance for his mic quality.
This surreal picture of these buildings that look the exact same as each other was taken from a high place in a small city named Paradis. The point of these buildings existing all around the city is to make homes and apartments more affordable for everyone in the country, as these apartments are usually a lot cheaper than regular houses, although due to inflations and sanctions in the country, these houses are still not affordable for a lot of people.
So yeah, these apartments look very desolate and quite North Korean if you know what I mean, but they give a cheap place for people to live. The next liminal findings from someone in my Discord is from someone called Mackerel. He sent me a YouTube video that features many bouncy house liminal spaces and said that many of those pictures were actually taken at an Irish play place called Coco's. But before all of you Conor McGregor fans go to a children's bouncy house play place, Mackerel told me that it has since shut down, so F's in the chat. A Discord user called Kyle sent me this picture and said that it was taken at the Hollywood Connection Family Fun Center in Columbus, Georgia. Along with this, he sent many more pictures of the fun center, and it honestly looks like a pretty fun place. The YouTuber called Yiga's Memes had sent me this cozy image of some houses on a snowy mountain. These sets of houses are located in Svalbard, Norway. I received an email from somebody called The Known Spy that claimed to see the Backrooms Level 94 houses in real life. This person claimed to have been riding the bus and saw some houses that closely resembled the one seen in the Backrooms Level 94 pictures. Personally, I think it's a match, but they didn't want to give up their location and just wanted to stay anonymous. I think somebody should show this part of the video to Gabrielle Traversat, the original artist of these types of pictures, and let her answer if these are the correct houses that she took inspiration from. Lastly, I'm going to do a quick slideshow of liminal spaces from the Liminal Spaces channel in my Discord server. The abandoned Toys R Us image is a true liminal space for a variety of reasons. First off, we often associate liminal spaces with the places we can remember from our childhoods, and Toys R Us was a staple for many kids growing up, until their inevitable bankruptcy in 2018. Now, it's been a while since I've stated the definition of what a liminal space even is, and it's essentially a place and time that is no more. So when we look back at a picture like this, it really shows how Toys R Us was just a moment in time that no longer exists, both physically and in the memories of many people. Not to mention that this also gives off the other characteristics of liminal space photography, like the creepy lighting and overall ominous feeling. What's inside there? To finally get to the point you're probably waiting on, I found this image on an old blogging site called skycity2.blogspot.com. The website ran from 2005 to 2019 and mainly covered dying malls and retail chains. On August 16, 2009, the blog would cover a mall in Huntsville, Alabama. The post would start off by saying, "As one of the lost malls of Huntsville, this mall was a living time capsule. It is the creepiest mall I have ever seen, and it was in a very decrepit state when these photos were taken. The person who would take these photos that are now on screen were taken by Evans Criswell on January 12, 1998. Evans would later upload his photos of the now demolished mall to deadmalls.com, and the site we're looking at now would then pick up his pictures and make the article we're looking at now. Moving along, there's actually many liminal feeling pictures from Evans' day at the mall, and as we can see here is the Toys R Us picture. It was once located at the mall in Huntsville, Alabama, and is now just a building that lives on through pictures and memories. You can commonly find this dark and ominous picture of an empty beach at night in many liminal space compilations. Just by looking up this image with the search image with Google feature, I saw this right here, some sort of hotel listing on TripAdvisor. After quickly scanning through the pictures of the Hotel Plaza Esplanade in Italy, I can confirm that this is the same place as the liminal space beach. There's many pictures of the beach at night, and it's nearly identical to the classic photo. If you want to visit this place for yourself, then prepare a trip to the Hotel Plaza Esplanade in Lido di Jesolo, Italy. If you've ever watched the critically acclaimed zombie movie, 28 Days Later, then you may remember this scene right here. This shot in particular has been screenshotted and shared all over online, as many people feel pretty weird from looking at it. This Reddit post by DVD5671 may have been the first time someone shared the picture online, and the comments convey a lot of the same thoughts I have. The grass. It's always the grass. I think it's the grass, but also the angle of the road and the fact that you can only see the top of the wind turbines in front of the gray sky without a point of reference. I think it's because the grass is so well kept and perfect, but everything else is so empty. It's like, who is maintaining the grass? I thought I'd also add this little interaction as I thought it was interesting. It looks like a 90s CG render. That was actually the director's intention. They've purposely recorded the majority of the movie with an older semi-pro VHS camera and applied uncanny CGI effects to it to enhance the atmosphere. The unusual camera style, effects, and quite often the music of the movie make up a textbook example of liminal space, and I friggin' love that. On the topic of liminal spaces that involve wind turbines, here's a personal picture that I like for whatever reason. This one was pretty quick to find, as I came across this wind turbine article that has many different pictures of the liminal space. And at the very top, you can see that this wind turbine is in Cologne, Switzerland.
Be sure to subscribe to Jaden Salads and follow him on Instagram. You can also get some fire merch by going to jadensalads.com to buy t-shirts, hoodies, and more. Join the Discord in the description for potential giveaways, and make sure to leave a like on the video.
You may recognize this place from a variety of different images, and that's because this is one of the more known doomsday bunkers in the United States. This 26-foot deep fallout shelter vacation getaway was built in Las Vegas during the 1970s by an American businessman called Gerard Henderson. It was built for comfort, fitted with swimming pools, a sauna, a garden with fountains and waterfalls, a mini golf course, and even a barbecue hidden inside an artificial rock. Instead of running for cover when the bomb hit, Henderson figured it would be easier and safer to live there at all times. In this video by Survive Doomsday, he gets to take a tour in the very large bunker, and as you can already imagine, there's a very strange and artificial feeling in every room.
So here we have the backyard of the ranch-style home. There's a nice fountain. The mural again shows upstate New York. That's the guest house here, the little 530 square foot guest house.
As far as I know, you could actually buy this bunker for a small loan of $6 million, or at least that's what this article from last year says. It's also worth mentioning that this liminal space right here was taken inside of the kitchen of this doomsday bunker, so you got 2 in 1. It's safe to say that everything you're looking at is no longer here. as it would all be taken away as a result of the September 11th, 2001 terrorist attacks. I have a couple of videos already made on some stuff related to 9/11. This one in particular is pretty interesting, so go check it out after this if you want. You just saw Toy Story 3 at the movie theaters, late at night at around 11:30. You, your parents, and your siblings begin walking out of the theater to realize that you're the only ones left. You continue walking to the car, you all go home, you jump right in bed, and you fall asleep. This was a comment left under this post of a pretty dead lobby area in an unknown building. Someone on the thread would ask this: "Any interesting stories regarding this place?" To which OP would say, "Not super interesting to be fair. It used to be this enormous cinema outside of the city with 8 huge screening rooms and thousands of visitors. But now it's completely empty and dead, but still playing films for some reason. I used to go there when I was a kid, and my friend took this picture a few weeks ago." You can also find that this movie theater is located in Poznan, Poland, and is called Cinema City, but was formerly known as Kanopolis. On December 28, 2011, this picture would be uploaded to Foursquare.com, a website that would provide personalized recommendations of places to go near a user's location. When I first came across this liminal space, it immediately reminded me of that mall used in the movie Possibly in Michigan.
Have we met before? Possibly in Michigan.
But upon further research, the mall seen in Possibly in Michigan was actually shot at the Beechwood Place in Beechwood, Ohio, and for the image I'm talking about, it's called the Century 3 Mall, located in West Mifflin, Pennsylvania. This mall is actually pretty infamous, being featured in not only a Dan Bell video, but also a Bright Sun Films video. The Century 3 Mall opened on October 24, 1979, and became the third largest mall in the United States at the time. It performed well, having hundreds of thousands of shoppers every year, until other nearby malls and shopping places started to outperform it. The mall in 2024 is currently waiting to be demolished, and will forever be a memory to those who once shopped there. Many of the pictures on the mall's Foursquare page are just as liminal as the one I've been talking about, and it's honestly pretty sad to see it fade away. Sad to see the demise of a once beautiful mall, perfect place to shop. If you have a death wish, it's sadly falling apart. I only go here for a few stores. Make sure you are carrying a weapon of some sort before coming here. Wiz Khalifa's music video, Mesmerized, was filmed inside the mall and outside of the entrance of Dick's Sporting Goods.
Everybody, my name is Brugly or Jared, and I make videos here on YouTube about liminal spaces. But much broader than that, I talk about the backrooms, Trevor Henderson creatures, SCP stuff, lucid dreaming things, and Silent Hill entities. But shameless plugging aside, let's get into the video y'all clicked on. The abandoned arcade, or Backrooms Level 94's castle interior. This image has been a really popular liminal space for quite a long time, and it's often associated with the interior of this castle in level 94 of the Backrooms. From what I can tell, the room is a very vibrant and childlike place, and it almost has the sense of something that used to be an arcade, or is trying to be an arcade. After searching around to see when the image was first posted online, I came across a traveling blog from February of 2013. The blog entry reads like this: "Today we wandered around the city for a bit, along with visiting some famous places in Taipei. It was a fairly exhausting day filled with much walking and photo taking. My favorites are included down below." As we can see here, the first picture listed is of the iconic liminal space and Backrooms photo. When clicking on the image, you can also read some text that says, "An abandoned arcade we stumbled across, it's pretty eerie." While the posters themselves didn't leave the actual location of the arcade, we do know that it was once somewhere in Taipei, which is in Taiwan. Unfortunately, I have a pretty good feeling that this liminal space no longer exists, since it's been more than a decade, and it was already abandoned a decade ago. That means it's definitely demolished or changed completely now. This is a classic one though, it gives you all those feelings of liminality. Now, if you watched the video that Jaden made a few weeks ago called The Guide to a Liminal Space Road Trip, then you'd be well aware of where this image was once located. But to those who didn't click on the video or are fake, this picture of an oddly lit room with painted eyeballs on the floor, ceiling, and walls was once a part of an art exhibit called the Hidden Planet Mystery Tour. This abstract art experience, if you could even call it that, was located along a beach in Hong Kong, as listed here on the Hidden Planets tour page. Even though we know where the exhibit exists, there's still a big problem at hand. When looking at the reviews on the Hidden Planet Mystery Tour's website, they either date back to 2022 or 2021, which raises the question, is it still around? The answer to this was unknown until someone, that's presumably from Hong Kong, had left a comment on that liminal space road trip video that Jaden made a few weeks ago. The comment reads like this: "Hey there, I did not expect to see an entry from Hong Kong. I didn't even know that the place I live in now has such liminal spaces. However, I am sad to announce that currently the exhibit is not available, and I don't see it coming back any sooner." So thanks to the commenter Bruce Lamb 115, we can hopefully trust his word and say goodbye to yet another liminal space that's no longer around. Now going back again to another memorable liminal space from level 94 of the backrooms are the houses. And I'm going to tell you about the real life neighborhood that these houses are loosely based off of. A Reddit user called Lucky Boy Sniper made this post about 8 months ago, and it sadly got 6 upvotes for something that's rather incredible. You'd figure it would have more, but it didn't. I'm sorry, Lucky Boy Sniper. I would help you out if I knew how. The post says, "I was on a bus and I saw some houses that looked suspiciously similar to the level 94 houses. I managed to quickly take some pictures of these houses before it was too late." Lucky Boy Sniper would add many pictures to his claim, and they seem pretty accurate to the ones shown in Gabriel Treverstat's art. But what really seals the deal is when Lucky left a link to the houses on a Google Street View. And upon clicking the link that they provided, we can move around and clearly see the truth of what was being told. Now, I've even found certain angles of these houses that closely resemble the ones in the level 94 pictures. Now, if you wanted to move into this real-life Backrooms neighborhood, they're located at the Villages neighborhood in Ankeny, Iowa. I don't know why you'd want to move to Iowa, if I'm being honest, but they're there. So I guess this type of housing is fairly common in Iowa, as I also found this listing just 20 minutes away, this time in a town called Altoona, and it looks pretty much the exact same. Who would have thought that one of the most ubiquitous Backrooms pictures came from Iowa? So for the last entry that I'll be covering, it's this one right here. The term dreamlike can be applied to many liminal spaces, for obviously seeming like a place that you come across in a lucid dream or a fever dream or something, but this picture in particular truly fits that saying. It sticks to that saying exactly. The materials and surfaces in this image are so shiny and smooth that honestly it kind of seems like bad CGI in a way. But with all that being said, some of you may not even know what it is that you're looking at. And to answer this curiosity that you have, it's a really popular tourist spot known as the Fly Geyser. Now, to those who may also not know what a geyser is, the Google definition is a hot spring in which water intermittently boils and sending a tall column of water and steam into the air. If you've heard of the Old Faithful geyser, it's like that. It's kind of like nature's blowhole. Anyways, going back to the photo, I'd like to credit Jeremy C. Munns for being the photographer of the picture, as it's not often that we actually know the person behind the camera that took the picture of the liminal space. So props to Jeremy. You can visit this surreal attraction in Washoe County, Nevada, if you want to take in the serene beauty of it. So sadly, my time in this video has come to an end. I'm going to get back to constructing Backrooms videos and liminal space videos and dissociating into a world that's not even real. Have a great day, everybody.
Can this be considered an outside liminal space? A Redditor would respond to that by saying, "This works really well because there's no visual indication in this picture that this is either an innocent segment of some suburban neighborhood or a practically infinite suburban hell world where no matter how long you follow the endlessly snaking roads, there are just more cookie-cutter homes and their barren lawns with small artificially placed trees. The sun never sets. In fact, there is no sun, just a blue sky extending forever, and the day never ends." I really like this picture, and no matter how hard I looked through this Reddit thread or Google image searching, I never got an exact spot for where this was taken. The only clue I had was this right here. This has to be Omaha. Holy schnackers, I don't know how I can tell, but 188th Avenue was a dead giveaway. This is close to 192nd and Harrison, right? OP would respond by saying, yeah, around that area. I can't exactly remember where, but it's one of the newly developed areas. After gathering whatever information I could, I now know that this neighborhood is located in Omaha, Nebraska. Not just this, but it has to presumably be located on 188th Avenue and around an area with newly developed buildings. I thought this search would end rather quickly, but I ended up spending a lot more time looking around than expected. I first started by looking up 188th Avenue in Omaha, Nebraska, just by going off whatever this Redditor had said and hoping that he's accurate. I was specifically looking out for red tactile paving on the corner of a sidewalk, barred fences with a streetlight in front of it, and these two little boulders. The more I looked around, it seemed like I could come across the image at any point, but I never did. And it started to sink in at how many neighborhoods there are in Omaha, Nebraska. And they all look the same. This picture was hiding in plain sight. I eventually ended up about 15 minutes away from Omaha, Nebraska, in a city called Gretna. While still searching around, I noticed something. Do you recognize the back of this house? It looks pretty similar to the one in the background of the image we're looking for. There's 3 windows, both have a chimney in the same spot, and both are dark blue. It was only a matter of time until I came across the spot, but this house in particular was the saving grace. I then went to satellite view on Google Maps, angled myself to where the house would appear in the way it does in this picture, and I found myself in where I want to be. Ladies and gentlemen, we freaking got him. Roll the clip.
We got him.
If you, for some reason, want to see this for yourself, the location that Google gave me is 11352 South 169th Street in Gretna, Nebraska. The sky is an empty abyss, and the street light stands lonesome, surrounded by nothing. A place that we often associate with crowds of people is suddenly vacant, surrounded by nobody. This picture was first uploaded to Reddit over 2 years ago, with the caption above it saying, "A friend just sent me this photo from Delaware, and it looks like it would fit here." By simply looking up water parks in Delaware, because there's no way Delaware has more than 5 water parks due to its small size, the second result showed me the exact same water slides seen in the Reddit image. If you want to go slide on these when they're not so liminal, then buy a ticket at the Thunder Lagoon Water Park in Ocean City, Delaware. I'm pretty positive that this empty shopping center was used in a lot of these old liminal space compilation videos, and I'm kinda surprised it took me this long to cover this one. I never managed to find where this image in particular came from, but I did find the location from a similar photo, on a website for Southern Urban Exploration. On Wednesday, June 12, 2013, a page would be made for the Northgate Mall in Lafayette, Louisiana.
Hot sauce for everybody. Everybody gets one.
The article showcases many different parts of the mall that are devoid of life, and at the bottom of the page, we can see this. As a bonus, here is the view from the entrance doors to the former Albertsons that closed in early 2012. While it's not the same picture as the one I'm talking about, it has the same tiled flooring and is obviously a match. I doubt this abandoned Albertsons is still accessible or looks anything like this, but the mall that it was attached to is still around and still pretty dead. Someone on Reddit had this to say about the mall from just 3 months ago. I ended up here by accident one time. The only place that was open was a cheap streetwear store in an H&R block tucked away at the very far end of the wings. The food court had 90s-esque paintings on the window and looked like it hadn't been open for over 10 years. Zachary Gadriowa is a French artist best known for his art series called Facades. Zachary would create many different variants of this type of photography, and this one would manage to become a pretty popular liminal space. At first, I was almost positive that Zach created a big neighborhood full of building fronts, but that wouldn't be the case, as he convincingly made these art pieces by editing and messing with real pictures.
I enjoyé browsing through the city, wandering through the streets, watching and imagining what lies behind the walls. A glow behind a half-open shutter, noise through a window, l'auteur and tears anonymous like an ombre on adore. Everything me sim foreign, instilling fear à curiosity.
This quote that was taken and translated from Zachary can also be applied to a lot of liminal spaces. I often ask myself when analyzing different pictures, what's behind there? Who might be here? Who was here? And at the end of the day, these questions usually remain unanswered, and we can only see what's presented to us from what is being shown. Sometimes, I flat out can't find the location or origin of a liminal space, or even cursed image for that matter. For example, I felt like I was really close to finding this house on whatever housing site it must have been listed on. I got results such as this one and this one, but I ultimately never found where this picture came from. This has been the case for about, I'd say 50% of the liminal spaces that I try and talk about. But thankfully to the Liminal Spaces channel in my Discord server, there's probably over 100 different locations found for popular and not so popular liminal pictures. I'm just going to list off a lot of the liminal spaces that have been found on there, so thank you to the users I'm about to mention. You can also contribute to this by joining the Discord in the description if you want. The user Valentine managed to find a plethora of different pictures, so here we go. 1301 East Clay Street in Stockton, California. 714 Stockton Circle in Ridley Park, Pennsylvania. This was taken at the Stanley Hotel in Estes Park, Colorado. The Liberal Arts and Science Academy in Austin, Texas. Trivandrum International Airport. An edited picture of the Manor Valley Golf Course in Westmoreland County, Pennsylvania. 13th Emerald Street in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Lollipop Park in Hamilton Township, New Jersey. Another active member in the Liminal Spaces channels is Michigan Cube, so here are the ones that they found. Martin Hall at Eastern Kentucky University at 209 Park Drive, Richmond, Kentucky, the Hyatt Regency Hotel in Houston, Texas, and the Aqua Park Babylon in Liberec, Czechia. I'm pretty sure I butchered that one, I apologize. And finally, here's the little slideshow for a bunch of other notable finds. Thank you guys. To begin with the first liminal space picture of the video, it's none other than the backrooms. This infamous and very iconic image basically paved the way for backrooms and liminal space photography. Let's start from the beginning, on May 12th, 2019, when a post on 4chan's paranormal board would be made. The person who made the post would use this image, accompanied with the following text. Post disquieting images that just feel off. The thread quickly gained traction, but this response would change everything. The anonymous poster would say this: if you're not careful and you no-clip out of reality in the wrong areas, you'll end up in the back rooms, where it's nothing but the stink of old moist carpet, the madness of mono yellow, the endless background noise of fluorescent lights at maximum hum buzz, and approximately 600 million square miles of randomly segmented empty rooms to be trapped in. God save you if you hear something wandering around nearby, because it sure as hell has heard you. This random post on a 4chan thread would be the pinpoint, the origin if you will, and I'd even say the direct cause of liminal spaces becoming so popular. Soon after this short-form creepypasta about no-clipping into an infinite maze of moist mono-yellow hallways, the fascination with the backroom started to grow rather quickly. It wasn't until the backroom started to be used as a type of label or feeling. I remember sometime in 2019 going into a Dollar General with my friends and randomly getting a glimpse into a dark, unkempt part of the store. The lighting was odd, and the best way to put it at the time was that it was the backrooms. Little did we know at the time, there was a more accurate and better description for this out-of-world feeling, and it's liminal space. I'm kind of getting off track, but this image, accompanied with the creepypasta, led to the creation of the backrooms, which then popularized the concept of liminal spaces. For many years, up until 2024, people tried finding who took this image, where the image was taken at, and if it was even real. I personally had no hope that this picture would be found, as I thought this was a result of some sort of edited photo or render. The following information I'm about to relay to you is taken from Farrell Maguire's video on the search for the backroom's origin. So huge shout out to him, go watch his videos, he's got super good stuff, I'll link him in the description. The final search for the backroom's location that led to it being found all started in Virtual Carbon's Discord server when a user called Serara found an archived 4chan thread from 2011. On the thread was none other than the infamous picture, one of the earliest uses of the image that was ever found online at that point. The file name on this particular usage of the backrooms was dsc00161.jpg. One of the searchers for the backrooms picture then looked up the file name on Twitter, which led them to this post from 2019. For what it's worth, I've probably found the source image here. Exif says it's from 2002. Somehow, right under the nose of the entire liminal space community, this random Twitter user found the origins of the backrooms picture 5 years ago. When clicking on the link they provided, it's no longer available, but by putting this link of the website into the Wayback Machine, all the questions would be answered. Dating back to May of 2003, this website was used for a Hobbytown store in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, and this page in particular was documenting its progress from turning an old room, which was once used for selling furniture at a furniture store, into an indoor RC car racetrack. This page also features an alternate angle of the room, which is honestly incredible to me. Unfortunately, as I've already said, the room and wall in the iconic backrooms are no longer around these days, as they've been turned into an RC car racetrack for the last 20 years. There's videos of the exact spot the picture was once taken, although there's not many similarities. If you want some more in-depth information about the search and the actual location's history, go check out that Farrell Maguire video. I don't just want to copy everything he said. Another very popular liminal space that had no signs of being discovered was also found out around the same time as the backrooms, funnily enough. This picture also happens to be one of, if not my favorite liminal spaces, just thought you should know.
This is one of my favorite backrooms images.
According to this Reddit post, a user called Bippy on the Virtual Carbon Discord server managed to find a Flickr page from April of 2007, and the contents on the page was the liminal space basement/living room. To those who thought this was a living room, you were wrong. As you could guess, this image was taken inside of an ordinary house, and you would probably never know that such a legendary liminal space would be existing in its basement. Apparently, this is also what it looks like after a renovation. Not only was the basement and the literal backrooms picture found, but trust me, there's even more iconic liminal spaces that are now located. The next one I'll be talking about is best known as the Level Fun Room in the backrooms lore. I'm sure you've seen it before. It's got the super scuffed SpongeBob kicking a soccer ball. It's pretty awesome stuff. My Discord server had been trying to find the origins of it for the longest time, but the Virtual Carbon server has got the win once again. The users Zaft, Regularly Blue, and Bippy had managed to track down a Flickr page that had different pictures of Level Fun, get in contact with the person who took the pictures, and received the following information. If I remember correctly, this was shot at a Burger King in the center of Berlin. Their bathrooms were in a separate section downstairs, and had this empty playroom next to them. This was back in 2011, I doubt it still looks like this. Using the information that was given, the users on Discord would eventually find the exact Burger King. I doubt that the children's playroom is still there, but the address to this Burger King is listed as Alexanderplatz 8, 10178, Berlin, Germany. Side note, I hope Burger King brings back the mac and Cheetos. I thought those were really good. For the last big find that was made by the users in the Virtual World Discord server was the discovery of the Big Bear Library. The user Zaft, once again, found the image to be at the Ronald McDonald House Charities of Central Ohio. By going through its Google images, you can see different angles of the room, which confirms that it was taken there, the picture of the Bear Library. I don't know if it's still there, but now we know where it was taken. The first liminal space of the video that I found myself is this one right here. It's an abandoned store with a Lego section that only brings back memories of going to Toys R Us as a young kid. I would do anything to go back. Like any other search, I'm sure you know what I'm about to say, I put this into the 10i engine, the website that scours the internet for matching pictures. So I did that and clicked on the second oldest result that it could find. It would take me to a Reddit page under the Lego subreddit. My favorite place to go as a kid, now empty. RIP Toys R Us. Assuming that whoever took the picture also made this post, I looked through the response section to see if they ever mentioned where this Toys R Us was located. And luckily enough, they said it's the one in Portland, Maine. There was only ever one Toys R Us that existed in Portland, which would shut down in 2018. There would be the reopening of a new one though in 2022, but it's safe to say that this picture was without a doubt taken at this now defunct Toys R Us in 2018. I tried to do a little more digging to see if I could find some alternate angles of the Lego section, like from this YouTube video taken during Black Friday in 2009. That video didn't show the place I was looking for, so then I tried this video, which was taken right before the closing of this Portland Toys R Us.
You don't have to worry about not finding one item. And if you need assistance, you can always ask one of us, which then will walk you some other person because we don't know the answer.
This frame right here is the closest I ever got to finding the Lego section, but you can see the little entrance into it.
Everything's going so fast. I don't even know. Whoa, I think I'm losing balance. I'm not gonna make it. Oh.
This might be a bit of a joke entry, and I'm not even sure if this is entirely a liminal space, but I'm going to go ahead and talk about it anyway. This one didn't require much investigative work. I honestly think it would be more impressive if this beautiful Taco Bell managed to stay in a secret location. In the town of Rapid City, South Dakota, there's actually a lot of fun stuff to do. You can take a quick 30-minute trip to Mount Rushmore, walk around downtown, and most importantly, you can go to 1024 Endeavor Boulevard to get yourself some liminal Taco Bell. I was curious to see what the surrounding area looked like, and you can now see it on screen. The person who took this incredible image was most likely on the 4th floor of this hotel, as you can tell by this streetlight. Similar to level fun of the back rooms, this creepy party room has some pretty dark aura. It seems as if the lights are turned on, but the room remains dark, and I don't even want to know what happens if you choose to sit in this corner. This image comes from a Reddit post with the caption, "Bowling alley in my town." The photo is accompanied with 2 more pictures, both being pretty liminal. There were many Redditors in the comment section that tried asking for the location of the place, but the OP never responded. By simply right-clicking on the image and searching with the Google Lens, I saw the thumbnail for this website. I clicked on it, and it led me to sunnysidebowl.com, a site for a bowling alley in Danvers, Massachusetts. You can see on the page 2 different angles of the liminal space. If you want to try and get a glimpse of this party room for yourself, then book a party at the Sunnyside Bowladrome in Danvers, Massachusetts. I've seen this picture floating around for quite a while now, like in liminal space compilations or on my own time looking at liminal spaces. I know what I'm about to say can be applied to almost any liminal feeling image, but this one actually feels like something you'd see in a dream. We have no context for what we're looking at, aside from the spiraling, winding white fence on some flat green grass. When looking for the origins of this one, I put it into the TinEye search and searched for the oldest uses of it. Some of the links dated back to the early 2010s, but what caught my eye was this link to Adobe stock photos. This picture was only one of many in a series of licensed pictures that you can buy, and thankfully Adobe has the location listed in the title. White fence winding across Calumet Horse Farm, Lexington, Kentucky. I went to Google Maps just to look around, and it's obviously the place. If you want to drive by for yourself, then the address for the farm listed on Google is 3301 Versailles Road, Lexington, Kentucky 40510. This Reddit post has a very ominous picture of an interesting looking house in the middle of nowhere, and I want to know where it is. Thankfully, the easiest step was when the OP had said, "I recently did a little digging and learned the house is real, but the picture itself has been edited quite a bit. It's located in the Magdalen Islands." After looking up a house in Magdalen Islands on Google Images, I then came across this picture of the same house on a Flickr page from 2009. You can tell it's the same because everything literally matches up. The chimneys, the colors, the windows, it's the same house. I tried searching this Flickr picture with Google Lens and came across this right here. It says colorful house with a similar looking house in the thumbnail. I clicked on that and it took me to a painting of the house on pixels.com. Like I said, the title of the painting is Colorful House, and I'm not going to try and pronounce the rest of that. I then copied that and pasted the name into Google Maps, hoping that this house was actually called the Colorful House, like in the painting. I skimmed through some of the places on Google Maps and eventually found one that used a picture of the liminal space house. It's listed as the Mason Julie Snyder. Apparently it's some sort of apartment complex. After doing a little more digging though, it turned out that this was not an apartment, but rather the house for a French-Canadian celebrity called Julie Snyder. I have no idea who this woman is, but she might be a big deal, I don't know. I ended up finding this article from 2023 where it talks about Julie Snyder's house in the Magdalen Islands, and it does show pictures of what it looks like on the inside. I did locate the house on Google Maps, and this unfortunately was as close as I could get. I really wanted to find the location of this abandoned Sears. Why is this so menacing? I believe the most known version of this place is this picture, but I did find other shots of it, like from this Flickr page taken in 2009. I figured this would be a popular Urban X place, maybe with some lore, so I looked up abandoned Sears on YouTube. The fourth video I found had the Sears I was looking for in the thumbnail. I watched the video, and in the intro it says that it was located in the suburbs of Chicago, but not once did they ever show the outside of the building. This comment says that their video was taken next door to the Walmart in Lake Zurich, Illinois, so I decided to check it out to see if it's our match. I looked on Google Maps, and unfortunately, the thumbnail is clickbait. The Sears these people explored was far less interesting than the one I'm searching for. I then looked up abandoned Sears on Google Images, started scrolling through, and came across the same one. After clicking this, I was taken to a page on Getty Images, and was blessed to now get some answers. It says that this Sears hellscape once existed in New Orleans, Louisiana. I also found the original upload of the liminal space. It was shared to Flickr in 2011 by Chad Gillenwater. This specific picture also shared inspiration for some pretty popular Garry's Mod maps. I'm sure gaming YouTubers like Vanoss Gaming are pretty familiar with this place already. Vanoss, if you're watching, thank you for following me on Twitter. You're freaking awesome for that. Now, I wasn't satisfied just knowing that this Sears was in New Orleans. I wanted to know what it looked like when it was opened, and I wanted to know the exact address. This website from 2008 talks about how they were hired to take some photographs of the St. Bernard region of New Orleans. This area was one of the hardest hit places during Hurricane Katrina. I bring all of this up because somehow when finding the website I just talked about, I also stumbled onto this Flickr page that shares more of the Sears surroundings. The information given from here is that it was taken in 2008 and that it's an abandoned shopping center on Judge Perez. After looking a little bit on Google Maps, Judge Perez is a road in Moreau, Louisiana, and I'm pretty sure I found where the Sears was once located. There's unfortunately nothing left these days, as it has since been demolished. All that is left is an empty parking lot next to a Tractor Supply. I'm gonna be completely honest for this entry, I literally don't know how I found the location to this liminal space. Usually if I find the location somewhere, I'll write it down along with the process I took to find it, but all I have written for this one is the final conclusion. There is a good chance I found this off of Reddit like most of these, but it's been too long for me to remember. Some of these entries have been stored up for quite a bit. With that said, I'm sure you've seen these pictures. They've appeared in many popular compilations on YouTube, and they all come from a Flickr page by a guy called Alex Gianniscoli. I don't know how I found this, but by going to this spot on Google Maps, you can see that this is where the pictures were taken. You can see the tennis court, the gates are the exact same, it's blatantly the right place. The address that'll take you here is 850 Grand Street, Brooklyn, New York 11206. I don't think this liminal space is very popular, but I still find it to be an interesting photo and would like to know where it's from or where it's taken. There's something about wind turbines and liminal spaces, they just sort of go hand in hand. I've already talked about some other liminal spaces that have wind turbines, they just have a weird feeling, I don't know. This image came from a Wikipedia page on the offshore wind park Thornton Bank. After copying that and pasting it into Google, it says that this wind farm is located in Noordzee, Belgium. There is not too much to write home about for this one, just some wind turbines in the ocean, but the full image of the picture is somewhat unsettling for some reason. This photo has not only been associated with liminal photography, but I want to say it also dates back to the mid and early 2010s as some sort of aesthetic/vaporwave picture. As usual, I began the search by using Google Lens, and right away, I had some answers. I decided to click on the Campbell Arcade suggestion, and I was met with some pictures of what seems to be an underground shopping center. When scrolling to the bottom of the page, I was met with the mysterious liminal hallway that had a rather abrupt ending. Where does this go? Assuming that this place is called the Campbell Arcade, I looked it up to learn a little more. It actually has its own Wikipedia page and has some history that I don't really care to talk about. The supposed address to this liminal space is 248 Flinders Street, Melbourne, Australia. It does say on the Google page that it's temporarily closed, and the last review is from over 2 years ago. I'm not sure what the state of this place is like today, but it seems like it's probably shut down. For the last entry that I found this video, it's of a very foggy playground, and it doesn't get much better or creepier than this. I started off by putting the picture into TinEye, and it led me to the Flickr page where it was first uploaded. I had no luck finding anything on this image, so I threw a bone and started looking up whatever I could on Google Images to try and get a lead. I finally looked up Purple Playgrounds Foggy, and saw this Reddit post pop up. I clicked it and arrived at a 4-year-old post with 74 upvotes and 1 comment. For some reason, the comment was only from 4 months ago, and this person somehow remembered growing up around this exact playground and was even kind enough to link it on Google Maps. I remember playing tag with my friend in this exact same place in San Francisco. No Perception 7667, you are a living legend. Sure enough, the link they left to Google Maps was correct.
This bitch stays up all night, but I see through you. I took a nap right on my glass.